everyone to this month's Twin Cities Immigration Forum. Thank you for joining us for today's meeting and for being ready to share information with the group that's here today. The Twin Cities Immigration Forum is a monthly meeting co-hosted by the City of Minneapolis Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, where I work, and the City of St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program, where Edmundo works to address topics of interest and concern to immigrant and refugee residents and individuals and organizations that serve the immigrant and refugee community in the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul and in the state of Minnesota. My name is Michelle Rivero. I'm the director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs for the City of Minneapolis, and I'll turn it to my counterpart, Edmundo, to introduce himself.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, I'm Edmundo Lijol. I'm an assistant city attorney with the City of St. Paul, and I'm charged with managing and developing the Immigrant and Refugee Program for the City of St. Paul. Michelle?
Super. So I put the agenda into the chat, and I'll just talk it out quickly for folks who may not have access to the chat. We'll talk briefly about Human Rights Day and International Migrants Day. We have several speakers, including Steve Kramer from Conversations with Friends, Michelle Manivel with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, and Angel Gardner-Kocher from Hennepin County, the Office of Broadband and Digital Inclusion. We'll talk through a calendar of events, including your updates. We'll share some immigration developments and job opportunities, and I'll give just a little bit of extra credit. So it's a big agenda. I'll just get right into it now. December 10th was Human Rights Day, recognizing the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And this coming December 18th is International Migrants Day, an opportunity to recognize the human rights of migrants, including migrants to the United States. Last week, the City of Minneapolis City Council advanced a resolution recognizing both dates, and that is one of the events in recognition of these two important occasions. Another is an Immigration 101 information session that's co-hosted by Moira Minneapolis and the St. Paul Immigrant and Refugee Program. That'll happen tomorrow, December 15th from 10:30 to 11:30. We'll put the link in the chat, invite all to attend. And we're very grateful that we'll have immigration law experts Virgil Wiebe from the University of St. Thomas Law School, as well as Michelle Garnett-McKenzie from the Advocates for Human Rights, who will be talking us through high-level overview on different types of immigration status in the United States. So we hope you'll join us. And one additional note that I'd like to share, the resolution that was advanced in recognition of these two occasions is very meaningful, and often seeing allocation of funding and resources to advance the rights of all, including the rights of migrants, really does demonstrate a commitment to advancing human rights. And so I just wanted to share that in the City of Minneapolis 2024 budget, there was an allocation for additional staff capacity within the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. So this is operated as a one-person office within the Department of Neighborhood and Community Relations since its creation in 2018. And in 2024, we will have 2 people in the office, so doubling our staff capacity. So really a wonderful way, one of the many ways that in the City of Minneapolis budget, there's a recognition and advancement of the human rights and the rights of migrants. So I will turn it over to Edmundo to start introducing our speakers for today.
Great, thanks, Michelle. First up is Steve Kramer. Steve is with Conversations with Friends, and Steve's gonna tell us all about the organization. Steve, welcome.
Okay, thank you. It's really great to be here. I'll give you an overview. I guess I got about 5 minutes or so. So we started, Conversations with Friends started back in 2011. We had our very first ever visit at the Ramsey County Adult Detention Center, just a little ways from downtown St. Paul. It was started by a group of pastors, and actually John Gutterman led us for a number of years, actually, until sadly his death in 2016. So we're an all volunteer humanitarian organization whose members visit and support people being jailed by ICE in Minnesota. So just to give you a feel, currently, as of today, there are 37 people jailed by ICE in the Freeborn County Adult Detention Center. That's in Albert Lea, about an hour and a half south of here. As of a month ago, there were 79 people jailed by ICE in the Candiota County Jail in Wilmer, about 2 hours directly west of Minneapolis. And as far as I know, as of today, there's still one person jailed by ICE in the Sherburne County Jail. So that would give you a total of roughly 117 people. So currently, we are visiting in the Freeborn County Adult Detention Center in Albert Lea for 3 hours, a couple times a month, including this Sunday night. The most important thing that we do right off the bat with each of the three groups with whom we visit is let them know and emphasize the pro bono law firms in the Twin Cities, their phone numbers and their hours of operations, and how incredibly important it is for them to call and call and call and call, you know, and if they don't get through to somebody, they leave a voicemail message. We then describe the Minnesota Freedom Fund, what they do, how they do it, and then if there is an opportunity to bond out, they for sure should contact them, and they could get assistance from the program coordinator at the jail. Also, during our community time, we address questions, concerns, requests that they may have. And of course, one of the most important over the last 2 or 3 months has been that they've been getting text messages from other people who are at Freeborn County Jail saying, hey, I made it across the border at Laredo and we were kidnapped and I had to pay $5,000 or $7,500 or whatever. Please let the consulate know that we're looking for a safer place to be dropped off. So many, many phone calls, voicemail messages have been left with the consulate saying, if there's anything you can do, these people have already suffered tremendously being in jail and facing deportation, and now their lives are in jeopardy. So, but we want to, during that community time, we also share a song together, you know, in solidarity. We always share a joke. I think I've got a great one actually prepared for this Sunday. And a reflection, like a world peace prayer, something where the focus is friendship, solidarity, and fraternity. Now, everybody, I think like 99% of the people in the Freeborn County Jail receive a weekly letter from their Conversation with Friends pen pal. They continue writing, regardless of whether they hear back. We provide books in various languages, puzzles, games. In addition, we make modest commissary deposits to those people requesting financial assistance. They can call their families and let them know where they are, how they're doing, and how their immigration hearings are progressing. And also to provide supplemental food. We also receive many, many requests from people who have been ordered deported. And for one reason or another, their families have been unable to drop off, you know, items of clothing at the Whipple building in Fort Snelling. So they'll request clothing, and we'll add hygiene items and sunglasses and a water bottle. So far in 2023, we've dropped off more than 160 Dignity backpacks versus 69 in all of 2022. Now, the great majority of people with whom we visit, tragically, will be deported with some exceptions. But for those people who are part of that exception, we get calls from ICE occasionally saying, hey, we have a gentleman who's being released. He has no way to get to his destination. Can you help him out? And we say, sure, that's what we're here for. You know, so we will pick up that individual, ask them if they need any food, offer them a backpack, and many, many times, most often take them to the Minneapolis Greyhound station for a bus to Sioux Falls, Grand Forks, or Fargo. And sometimes we'll take somebody to the airport for a flight out of state, out of town. Other forms of assistance include providing stamps for people so that they can write letters back to us. We often drop off reading glasses for people. Occasionally we'll receive requests from families who are out of state. For example, recently we received a package from the wife of a gentleman who's going to be deported to the UK sometime within the month. And she said she'd be unable to travel to the Whipple building from Chicago. So we opened up the box, put it in a backpack, dropped it off. Recently, we received a request from a gentleman from Nicaragua who said that his wife would like to send us something. She doesn't want to go anywhere close to the Whipple building for fear of being arrested, actually. So we did the same thing and added additional clothing that she forgot to include. So if you want to learn more about Conversation with Friends, you can take a look at the chat. I put my email address in there. It's also in Michelle's her email as well. So we'd be happy to have you contact us. And by the way, every month we send out a newsletter that includes information about the individuals with whom we're visiting and writing, and many times we'll include their correspondence as well. So don't hesitate to contact us with any questions, concerns, or if you'd like to be added to the newsletter. I think that pretty much covers the majority of what we do. But the bottom line is that everyone with whom we communicate through letters and or visits know that members of the community of Minnesota truly, sincerely care about them, their well-being, and their families. And it's so important that they know that, and they do know it loud and clear. So that's really the bottom line objective. Treat people like they would want to be treated, like we would want to be treated if we were in the same situation, being jailed by ICE here in Minnesota. So thank you for your listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate you being on. And any questions for Steve? Any follow-up questions? If not, I have one very quick question. Steve, you mentioned Minnesota Freedom Fund. Maybe for those who don't know what that is, maybe you can just give us a brief description.
So for those few individuals that actually qualify for bond, the immigration judge says, you're not a danger to the community, you're not a flight risk. Yes, we'll give you the opportunity to bond out. The Minnesota Freedom Fund can oftentimes support people by actually paying the bond. And so bonds might be $5,000, $7,500, $10,000. And so can you imagine a family who's potentially major breadwinner or a major breadwinner can't afford sometimes to pay their rent? Now, all of a sudden, they have this magnificent blessing of an organization that may very well be able to pay bond. And they're right here in the Twin Cities. And they'd love to do it. They want to help people in any way they can.
Great. Thanks.
So what happens is people are no longer jailed by ICE, and now they're free. They can breathe fresh air, they can be with their families, and they can work on their case, which will happen sometime in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions for Steve?
I just want to make a comment.
Sure.
I just want to make a comment. What a wonderful I would say service that you provide, and just want to say thank you. This is an amazing. And then how can my question is, how can anyone want to help, or people who is interested in helping be directed to you?
If they want to help, they could email me. I can tell you that one of the biggest things that we need right now is someone that can speak Somali, because there's a gentleman in the Freeborn County Jail who speaks Somali and no other language, and he was fortunate to have other gentlemen from Somalia there, but they were both just recently released on orders of supervision. So he will not be deported. I don't think anybody's being deported to Somalia, and no one's been deported to Somalia for a long time. In the meantime, he cannot communicate. And so if you know somebody that speaks Somali and would love to join us, we would be thrilled to have them on board. Otherwise, just send an email if some people are interested. We're especially in need of people that speak Spanish who would like to write letters or visit with us down in Albert Lea.
Great.
But thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. Maybe we'll get somebody off of this meeting that would want to help out with Spanish or Somali. We'll see.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Really appreciate you jumping on and letting us know about organization. Appreciate your time. Thank you. All right. Next, we have Michelle Manville from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Michelle?
Hi there.
Welcome.
Thank you. Let me see if I can just share my screen here. Does everyone see that all right?
Yes, we do.
All right. So my name is Michelle Manvell. I'm the Director of Community Engagement with the Department of Human Rights, and I'm here to talk about an exciting bill that passed and is going to be in effect starting January 1st. So before I get into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what is the Department of Human Rights. We are the state civil rights enforcement agency where our vision is to create a world where everyone can lead lives full of dignity and joy. And our mission is to make Minnesota discrimination free. We have 3 goals where one is to create a more equitable Minnesota, create a more inclusive culture, and identify and eliminate discrimination. A little bit about the the areas of protection, our employment, housing, public places, government services, etc. And then the protected classes, race, color, creed, religion, etc. Wherever there is a dot in this chart, that indicates areas of protection. So you see race and employment is an area of protection, whereas age and housing is not yet in an area of protection. If you believe that you have been discriminated against in any of these areas, we highly encourage you to call our office, and we would start an investigation, which can go through mediation and conciliation, and we can really help with that civil side of the discrimination process. So what I'm really here to talk about, though, is pay history. So this is the new law that will go into effect on January 1st. We know that when someone's future pay is locked into their past pay, the cycle of unequal pay impacts them throughout their life. The gender and racial pay gap is historical, and we have not seen it progress in the past 5 years in Minnesota. So in 2023, Governor Walz signed the Preventing Pay Discrimination Act into law. So beginning January 1st, employers in Minnesota will no longer be able to ask a job applicant about their current or past pay. We've seen this work in 22 other states, where in other states, pay is up for 8% for women and 13% for Black workers. So we know that it works. So what does this law do? Well, it does encourage employers to rely on the applicant's skills, education, certifications, licenses, as well as the job market to set pay. It also prohibits employers from asking about or considering an applicant's current or past pay during the hiring process. What it does not do is prevent a job applicant from voluntarily sharing their past pay history to negotiate a higher pay. And it also does not prohibit an employer from providing relevant information about wages, benefits, and salary. So who does the law apply to? It applies to everybody in Minnesota. So for employers, public, private, nonprofit, no matter the size, and for applicants, employees seeking a promotion or transfer, full-time, part-time, and what's not on here is seasonal workers as well. So what we are asking from employers to help end pay disparities is to remove any information from where you ask applicants about or solicit information about current or past pay. Be clear in how you will set pay, and that can be using a compensation form for candidates to demonstrate consistent considerations, and really communicate this change, whether it be with HR personnel or other staff who may be undergoing a hiring process. So what do job seekers need to know then? This goes into effect January 1st. So up until then, they're still legally allowed to ask you about current or past pay until this law goes into effect. However, beginning January 1st, no employer will be allowed to ask you about your current or past pay, either on an application or in an interview or as part of salary negotiations. If this is a question you or someone you know are asked, please report that to the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. Also, if you yourself or someone you know is applying for a job and you see this on an application, please flag that for our department as well. Your pay history cannot be used by an employer against you for lower wages, but you can use it in your defense to support higher wages. So I just have a couple of scenarios I want to run through just as some examples we've seen from community members when preparing for this to go into effect. So when a hiring manager knows an applicant's wage, So Inez has worked at the company for 5 years, making $25 an hour. The company opens a different position with a salary range of $20 to $30 an hour that Inez thinks would be a good opportunity. The hiring manager is impressed by Inez. They have worked at the company for years and would transition well into this new role, especially because Inez has a good understanding of unique database systems. The hiring manager knows Inez's hourly wage because they work in the same division. Can the hiring manager consider Inez's hourly wage when making an offer? Answer is no. The hiring manager cannot use their hourly wage when deciding this offer. Instead, like I talked about before, they need to look at the unique knowledge of database systems, their relevant education background, and the market conditions to make a fair offer. Scenario 2. If an office is located outside of Minnesota, but the remote worker is in Minnesota. Inez works remotely for the company from their home in Minnesota. The company is located across the river in Wisconsin. Inez applies for a new position in the company, and the company has stated that this new position is also a remote position, so Inez would be able to continue to work remotely from their home in Minnesota. Is the employer allowed to ask and consider current and past pay when making an offer to Inez, since the company is located outside of Minnesota? The answer to this one is probably not. When it comes to remote work, most of the time employees are generally protected by the laws of the state in which they reside. However, with remote work, there can be very specific law facts that can result in different outcomes with regards to which state the employment laws control. So this would also be a time where perhaps contacting an attorney would also be helpful. So what we are asking from you all is to really help us spread the word. I can drop this link in the chat in a little bit. We have a wonderful website on it. We also have some really great outreach materials that are available in English, Spanish, Hmong, and Somali. We have flyers and infographics, and are really just looking for them to be included in any emails you might have, websites, etc. That would be really great to help us spread this word. And that is all I have for you all. My email is on here if you would like to contact me about anything too.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Edmundo, I see, it looks like you're talking, but we can't hear you.
I was muted. Sorry. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate you coming on and letting us know about this change in the law and new legislation. I think it really will help people get higher salaries. Very quickly, though, I do have one quick question. You mentioned the department's phone number that people could call if they think they're being discriminated against. There's a number you can call. Would you be able to post that number in the chat for us?
Yes, I can post that phone number, the website, and my email address.
Great. Any other questions for Michelle?
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have Angel Gardner-Kocher from Hennepin County. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm going to pull up my presentation. Just one moment, please. Right. Go to slideshow view. One moment here. Oops, that is not what we're doing. Okay. All right. So thanks for having me. As was said, my name is Angel Gardner-Kocher. I'm a planning analyst who manages community engagement initiatives and partnerships at Hennepin County Broadband and Digital Inclusion. A broad overview of what our department does. We have two main programs. One of our two main areas of work, I should say. One of our main areas of work that we have that isn't as public facing is our infrastructure projects. So putting broadband fiber into communities in Hennepin County that are not wired for high-speed internet. We also wire public housing, some of the county buildings that need to be updated, and we're also working with different municipalities to identify big apartment complexes that need better infrastructure for internet. But what I'm going to talk to you today about is our public-facing program for Hennepin County residents, which is called our Digital Navigation Program. So you may see these new posters that we have. They're pretty new, but they'll be popping up everywhere in county buildings, in the human services centers, in the service centers, and the libraries. And this is actually promoting the work of our team. Though this doesn't tell you very much, and it tells you get connected online with help from Hennepin County. But I'm going to go into a little bit more about the supports that we have to offer. So any Hennepin County caseworker, probation officer, social worker, even some of the like education support specialists and library staff members can help if you're not connected to any of like the human services stuff in Hennepin County. They can submit this referral. It is an internal referral, meaning that you do have to talk to somebody at the county to get referred for this, but it's a relatively quick, like not super invasive process to get started. We mostly just take down your name and your contact info and like the best way to contact you, and then our navigator will reach out. So I'm going to get into more detail, but this is what the promotional material looks like. So with our digital navigation services, county staff and we also have some community-based partners that can refer a resident to our digital navigation program. The eligibility requirements are a lack of computer, internet access, and or basic digital skills. You also must be a county resident, but we're pretty easygoing in terms of like proving county residency. It's mainly, like a utility bill or a piece of mail or like something like that. You don't necessarily have to have, it's like proof of like hardcore proof of residency necessarily. Household income at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. I'm going to silence my phone. I'm so sorry. I thought I silenced it. And so we're getting that was a recent change that we made, and but that tends to align with some of the other programs around internet support. And so that's the income threshold. So after a resident gets referred to our program, our digital navigators, one is pictured here, Clarissa, with a client, will follow up with the resident as soon as possible in their preferred method of contact, whether it's text, email, or phone call. The resident will be asked to answer questions about themselves and their experience using computers and the internet. And then the navigator will, give them an online safety class, and, maybe if they need some basics to be able to like operate their computer, they may recommend some other lessons that they take. If people don't have a phone or like a smartphone to do the online safety class, or they don't want to do it at the library, on their own, might need a little more assistance, they can come in to a digital learning session that the navigators host on Thursdays at the Minneapolis Central Library, or they can go through one of our partners to get training as well. And I'll explain more about that later. And then from there, the navigator will set up an appointment for them to pick up their computer. We currently have 2 distribution sites. One is in North Minneapolis in the URock building, and the other is in South Minneapolis at Free Geek, Twin Cities. And we also, for people that maybe homebound or have transportation barriers, we do have partners that can help work to, get the computer to you. And we've done that before. So what technology supports can our team offer? So once you've completed that online safety training, adult clients receive a laptop, a mouse, a mic'd headset, and a laptop backpack, and youth receive Chromebooks. And that's yours to keep forever. There's no filters on it. There's no, it's not like a borrowing thing. It's yours. And the reason we did this is because we felt loans would be really complicated, but also we felt that, with technology constantly changing, you are going to get the best, experience by having that, new equipment and, not having to do a refurbished one that might, become unable to update within like a year. So they are new, and it's fresh out of the box. So, and then there is also support to enroll in discounted internet plans, or access a hotspot. We have hotspot loans that people can pick up at 8 different libraries throughout the county, and they're not just in Minneapolis. We have some of them in the suburbs as well. Um, and so we're just trying to help people get support to the resources they need to be successful in school and jobs and connecting with family and all of that. Community supports. So this is a really important part of our team, is that we have 13 contracted partners right now, and we just put out an RFP that's from our roster program to get a couple more. And our partners can actually provide skills training and language assistance in communities around the county. They can also offer language assistance beyond having a translator. We do have navigators that speak languages other than English, but we have a very small team, so we rely on our partners to cover some of the languages that our team doesn't speak. And then, of course, when our navigators are doing intake, we do have translation available, but it's not the same as having someone like teach you directly in your native language. So we have adaptive technology for people that might need it, have disabilities. We also have home visits available for people that may have transportation issues or, mobility issues. And we have drop-in technology assistance through some of our partners. And the languages spoken by our partners and our digital navigation team is Spanish, Somali, Vietnamese, Hmong, Chinese, and Oromo. One of the things I wanted to mention is if there's a language that you feel is a really strong need in Hennepin County that you don't see represented here, feel free to reach out to me. We do have materials in many of these languages as well. We don't have a practitioner that speaks Ukrainian, but we did just translate some of our materials into Ukrainian. And we know that's one area that, we could maybe have some language assistance. Lastly, I just wanted to give a plug for the Affordable Connectivity Program. This is not our program, it's a federal benefit, so anyone can apply for it. You can save up to $30 a month towards your broadband service from participating providers. You can stay with the provider you have or choose a new one. You can also get device discounts, so I just threw the information at the bottom. You can check out more about that. And that's pretty much all I have for you today.
Great. Thank you so much, Angel. This is, so important as we've been working with immigrant and refugee communities in the Twin Cities. One of the biggest issues we see is that so much information is on the internet for people, and without access to a computer or phone or internet access, people aren't able to connect for services.
Yeah.
So this is so important. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We did have Kelly, you want to talk about your suggestion? She suggested a couple different languages.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry if you hear a toddler. My daughter's in the room with me. But
I also have a kid around too.
We love kids on the forum, so yes, it's perfectly fine.
1 second.
The kids present next.
Yeah.
Okay.
She apparently needs help right now. But Daria and Pashu, I think just given the increased Afghan population and the evacuation in the recent years.
Yes. Thank you so much for that recommendation. Yeah, that's a great recommendation.
And any other comments or questions for Angel?
I see a hand raised.
Lillian,
please.
Lillian, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Angel. That was a great presentation. I didn't even know that existed. So I'm wondering, yeah, it's really great. I'm wondering two things, information that we can share with communities and folks who live within Hennepin County. And then I was also, my second question is if there is a language need on demand, because I'm thinking you may not be able to fulfill all languages, otherwise you perhaps have so many languages. But I'm sure
Yeah.
there may be some languages that are requested
Mhm.
on demand. Do you have that ability to provide that?
We can use like a translator service through the county to do pretty much, as far as I know, most languages. Um, but our providers only speak the languages that I spoke, but we're always allowed to use the translation line. You know, it's just that sort of back and forth. You know, we have interpreters available, but they're not like live interpreters. It's like going back and forth on the phone. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think it can be a challenge is we want to be as accessible as possible, but also it's like hard to find and like all the languages that are spoken. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does, and I definitely understand, that it is a challenge having all languages readily accessible. But it's good to know that if somebody requests that, perhaps some arrangements can be made
Yes,
to get an interpreter who can help
yes,
with the
yes.
service. Okay.
And on the form itself, there's a like spot where you can say what language support you need, so that way the navigator can be intentional about arranging for that before starting a conversation with you.
Noted. Thank you.
You're welcome. And as far as more information, what would be the best way? I do have some flyers I could share, but I could try to plop them in the chat, or should I send them to Michelle, or what would be the best?
I think if you share them with me and Michelle, we'll get them and make sure they're in the notes. We send notes out after the meeting,
Fabulous.
so we'll
Yeah,
make sure that
I can definitely
those
send that out.
flyers are included.
There is a bit of a wait for our service, but we just doubled our team because of the demand. Word gets around pretty fast that there's free computer. So right now our wait is like 6 to 8 weeks to like get the computer, but we just doubled our staff and are training people in very quickly so we can get more people served in a quicker amount of time.
Wonderful.
Thank
you so much.
Thank
All right.
you. Really appreciate it. So I'm very grateful for the speakers and all the information that was shared today, thinking about how we ensure that we are all upholding the rights of all humans, the rights we all hold as humans, as well as the rights of migrants. I think that our speakers today have really shown us tangible ways that we can connect people to services and resources and to each other to support one another. So really appreciate the speakers that we've had on today. Thank you for taking time to talk about your work in community. And we'll transition now to calendar of events, community and city updates. So if there are folks on the call who have updates that you'd like to share, please get ready to queue those up. Feel free to include them in the chat or raise your hand. I just want to share a couple of updates. First, with regard to driver's licenses for all. Please know that Driver and Vehicle Services is continuing to engage in outreach events in community. You can always check out the DVS webpage to see where they will be, including information sessions and tabling. Also, Driver and Vehicle Services are represented at the Ecuadorian Consulate on Mondays through December, as far as I understand. I'm including the Facebook page of the Ecuadorian Consulate in the chat so that folks can check it out and learn more in addition to the DVS webpage. Also want to share that a legal service partner, Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, a couple of days ago hosted an information session on marijuana and cannabis and people who are not U.S. citizens, as offenses relating to marijuana or cannabis remain offenses under federal law, even though not under state law. It is important for people who are not yet U.S. citizens to understand those potential consequences. So Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota hosted an information session yesterday, which was recorded and is now available on YouTube. So I've just put the link into the chat. Please do share this widely in your networks so that people have access to this important information. I'll share a couple of city and OIRA updates. The Community Connections Conference will take place in February of 2024. And if you are interested in being an exhibitor or in volunteering at the conference, please do learn more. There's a webpage where you can sign up as an exhibitor, or you can sign up as a volunteer. And as soon as I stop talking, I will put that into the chat as well. Registration and volunteer opportunities, I think, will close. I know something's going to close at the end of the year, so by December 31st. So it really does pay to sign up early. There is no charge for the conference. It's free. There are a number of city staff, city organizations that participate. It really is one of the largest opportunities in the city to connect city with community and community with city. So please do check out the webpage and invite folks to learn more. If you have questions, please do circle up with anyone within neighborhood and community relations. And thank you so much, Zainab, for confirming that the expo registration is closing on 12/31/23. Another update I wanted to share is that the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs since October has been holding office hours in community at the Career Force Center. Some people recognize it as CLUES because CLUES is embedded there at the Career Force Center at 777 East Lake Street. The next date that I will be tabling at the Career Force Center is Monday, this coming Monday, December 18th. Then we'll do a brief pause. We'll be there again on January 8th and on January 17th. So the dates that OIRA is holding office hours are on the OIRA webpage, OIRA in Minneapolis, in case you'd like to check. If you or people you are connecting with are looking for basic information, how to connect to a legal service provider, questions about shelter, how to connect to the shelter line, registration for schools, how to connect with a healthcare provider. There's just very, very basic information on those topics and more that OIRA is providing in communities. So please feel free to refer people to those office hours. And Edmundo, if I can turn it over to you for some of the other updates that are in there as people are collecting their thoughts, if they have updates to share too.
Sure. Thanks, Michelle. The state of Minnesota is organizing a conversation on alternative shelter arrangements for newcomers. If you're interested in participating in this discussion, the state is looking to start a group to learn about additional solutions for shelters and shelter alternatives across the state. And if you're interested, you can contact Kelly Schmidt, who was just on from the state, and we'll put her email in the chat so that people who are interested can reach out to Kelly and let her know that you're interested in joining this meeting series, which will be starting soon. Next, the Welcoming Twin Cities meeting, which is another meeting that Michelle and I host for service providers and other interested people who are working with newly arrived migrants from the southern border and other places. We'll be meeting next on January 3rd. We've been doing this meeting every 2 weeks, and the next meeting would have been December 27th, but we're going to cancel that meeting because it's right in the middle of the holidays, and we know most people won't be able to attend. Also, Community CPA, which is an organization that sponsors the Minnesota Immigrant Entrepreneur Summit every year, they will be holding a mini clinic this Saturday on one-on-one opportunities for entrepreneurs to learn a little bit about saving on business taxes before the close of the year. We'll also put that in the chat so that people can see more information about that meeting, and give people an opportunity to attend that meeting if they're interested. I think that looks like all of the updates we have for the moment, Michelle. And maybe we'll open it up for people who want to also let people know about other events they may be hosting.
Sounds good. Any other updates people want to share? I thought that I saw one in the chat. Maybe I'm mistaken. Any other updates?
This is the Red Cross. I just wanted to let folks know that the Red Cross is working with the Office of Refugee Resettlement in order to help family members of unaccompanied children and support families overseas to find those children. So we continue to be available to reconnect families that have been separated, but in particular, we've had more incidents where the children have been separated, and we have some specific work that we're doing with the Office of Refugee Resettlement on that as well. So we're available to answer questions about any cases like that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, PJ. That is an incredibly important resource. And I don't know if you have yet. I see the memorandum of agreement. If there's a contact.
Yeah, you can contact me. I put my email in earlier. It's just pj.doyle@redcross.org.
That's excellent. Thanks so much, PJ. If you wouldn't mind putting it just one more time, sorry to ask you to do that again, but I think that'd be helpful for folks. And with that, unless there are additional updates that people have, if you do, please feel free to raise your hand or just interrupt me. Otherwise, I will move to our next topic that Imun and I are going to do together, which is immigration developments. The first update that I'll share relates to the family expedited removal process. So in immigration developments, we talk through updates, including through different governmental agencies. Want to make sure that people are aware of the firm process. Again, that's family expedited removal process. And this was a procedure that was implemented earlier this year that results in I guess what you describe as super fast tracking of cases where individuals who are physically permitted to enter the United States have a credible fear interview, and if they're unsuccessful with that credible fear interview, are quickly scheduled for a hearing before a judge if they would like to have review of that credible fear determination. I'm sharing some information in the chat about this process. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important we think it's important for people to be aware of this procedure is because you may be encountering folks who are proceeding through the system on a much quicker timetable than entering and then having a hearing date scheduled several months down the road. If you are encountering folks who are in this expedited process, it will be important for them to receive legal orientation or connect with a service provider as quickly as possible. And also it's helpful just for us as individuals working in our municipalities to understand what percentage of folks are really being put into this pathway, this expedited pathway. So I've included some information in the chat. If this is coming on your radar or you are learning of folks who are moving through the system at a much faster timetable than what you may be used to seeing, and you'd like to connect offline about it, please don't hesitate to reach out to Edmundo or myself. I'll turn it over to Edmundo for our next update. But again, if there are any questions, please feel free to reach out or share a question in the chat or just raise your hand.
Thanks, Michelle. Next, we'd like to talk a little bit about the ICE portal that launched. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, launched a portal, a public-facing website that centralizes communication between non-citizens and the federal government. Within this online portal, non-citizens can schedule appointments, update their addresses, and check on immigration court hearing information is in a consolidated location. This portal is part of ICE's effort to modernize and streamline and encourage compliance with immigration enforcement procedures. So we will post a link to the portal and a Q&A on the portal if you have questions. The information on the portal is available in English, Spanish, French, Haitian Creole, and Portuguese. And so we'll post a link to the portal and information on the Q&A, as well as the news release that the ICE released on this portal. So those of you who may be working with individuals who have are in removal proceedings or have to check in with ICE, this is a good place to check and can verify their appointments and court hearings. And it's a centralized location, so it makes it much easier for people and for community advocates that are working with folks to kind of see where people are at in the process. So we'll put that in the chat as well. Michelle, is there next? You want to take the next update?
Yep. So just want to alert individuals to the fact that immigration is in the news with regard to the supplementary spending bill. I don't know if this is on folks' radar or not, but want to make sure that it is on your radar if it wasn't already. There have been a couple of articles, including one in Reuters, and just including that in the chat relating to restrictions on asylum as concessions that some legislators are demanding in exchange for an agreement on the supplementary spending bill. So worth kind of taking a look at some of the articles that are out on this topic. And I know that there are a number of organizations that have identified the potential impacts of some of these proposed restrictions on asylum and accessing immigration benefits. One that was issued by the American Immigration Lawyers Association, so we'll share that as well. And then I know, Edmundo, there's one last immigration update, I think, relating to temporary protected status.
Sure. Yesterday, on December 13th, the Department of Homeland Security released the Federal Register on the extension of registration periods, periods for temporary protected status for several countries, including El Salvador, Haiti, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua, and the Sudan. Re-registration periods have been extended for 60 days to fully designate extension period for each country. Existing TPS beneficiaries from these countries should re-register during their respective country's re-registration period. Re-registration periods for El Salvador is currently open and now runs through March 9th, 2025. Haiti is currently open and runs through August 3rd, 2024. Honduras is currently open and runs through July 5th, 2025. Nepal is currently open and runs through June 24th, 2025. Nicaragua is currently open and runs through July 5th of 2025. And Sudan is currently open and runs through April 19th of 25. So if anyone is interested in more information, we will also post the Federal Register link and the information on these extensions of 18 months for re-registration for most of these beneficiaries from these countries. Okay, Michelle, next.
I think it's still you, because I think we're transitioning to job and grant
Oh, yeah, okay.
opportunities. I think the
Great.
first one you were going to talk about.
Sure. I just want to let you know that the Federal Trade Commission let me know that they have 2 job opportunities. They are hiring two community education specialists with language capabilities. They're looking for people who are fluent in Chinese, Vietnamese, or Korean. These hires will be part of the consumer protection education team, and the vacancies are open to until December 22nd and December 26th. The positions, if you look at, I will post the links to these positions. The positions list that the work is in Washington, D.C. However, working remotely is possible with permission. And so they would be willing to consider someone working from Minnesota if they're fluent in one of these languages. So I will post those links in the chat for both of those positions. And do you want to do the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Michelle?
Yep, so there is a grant opportunity with a filing deadline of February 16th, focused on research on policies that can contribute to full social, economic, and civic inclusion of immigrant families in American society. I will also put the information about this and other opportunities through the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation into the chat. I know that we've discussed in previous forums that if organizations are interested in applying for these opportunities and would like to talk about it offline, please do reach out to Edmundo and myself. We are very interested in ensuring the additional resources that promote immigrant and refugee inclusion are available for the benefit of community members, residents of our cities, and so are always eager to identify opportunities to collaborate with folks who are working in this space. So hope that there is robust interest in this grant opportunity. And there will actually be a webinar on this one on December 15th from noon to 1:30 for interested folks to learn more about this funding opportunity and to ask questions. So I will put the link into the chat as well. And with that, I will turn it back to Edmundo for extra credit.
Great. Well, maybe Michelle, maybe we should see if people want to make any announcements or talk about any events they might have they want to share with the forum.
Of course.
So we'll open it up now for anyone who wants to share. You're welcome. Please feel welcome to share.
And as people are thinking, just want to put another plug and a reminder about the Welcoming Twin Cities meeting that will be on January 3rd. That is more of a kind of roll up your sleeves. Let's talk on how we can work together to support the needs of newcomers. And the January 3rd meeting will be at 4:30. The Welcoming Twin Cities 4:30 on January 3rd. All of the meetings that are co-facilitated by Edmundo and myself are located on the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs webpage on our calendar of events, and the links should be there as well. So folks are welcome to join us in that space as well, where we can talk in more detail about collaborative efforts to support newcomers to our cities.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Well, if there's no other announcements or from anyone else, I will talk a little bit about the extra credit. We've been doing this every month where we throw in something for extra reading. And this month, I'm throwing in an article from NPR, which talks about a little bit of a dangerous situation on the border, where people are being, smugglers are focusing on bringing people into a very rural area in Arizona. which is creating a very dangerous situation for those people who are crossing, but also creating issues for our government and how they can, deal with and assist people who are trying to come to the United States. So I put that article in the chat for people to take a look at if they are interested. And Michelle, with that, I think we are at the end of our agenda. Unless we have anything else people would like to add, I think we can close our last forum for the year.
We've been super duper grateful for your participation, your engagement, and the way that you have shared information that you've shared in this space over the course of this year. Thank you so much for partnering with us. Thank you so much for being part of the Twin Cities Immigration Forum community. As always, these events are recorded, available on the OIRA Minneapolis webpage. I know we see each other in multiple spaces, so hopefully we'll see each other again before the end of the year. But if not, wish everyone very happy holidays, very peaceful holidays, and a happy new year. And thank you again for being with us all year long. I can't believe we're in December.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate this past year, and want to wish everyone a happy holidays and a happy new year. And our next Twin Cities Immigration Forum will be Thursday, January 11th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Please, as always, contact Michelle or I if you have any ideas or items you want addressed in the forum. We're happy to try to include those ideas and events in the forum. So thank you and take care.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.